Welcome to Betting on Booking. I'm Jordan Cooper, aka Blender Ed, Blender HD. If you're gonna follow me on Twitter, joined by John Maselli, the Funkonomist, the fun economist, or whatever. You put the two words together, you have fun with economies in some regard. But we're here to preview AEW All In, coming live from Wembley Stadium Sunday afternoon. Get some coffee, start watching the pre-show at noon. Big show. They changed some of the card around this past Dynamite. But we do have betting lines up on Bet Online. And although good luck getting more than like $50 down on any of these bets there. I mean, you have to get Bitcoin on or whatever. I mean, whatever. There's some European books that also have like novelty lines, but Bet Online is like probably the most known for doing these wrestling ones, and we'll be previewing each and every match on the card. Not necessarily looking for like who's going to win, but probabilistically, which side has more value as far as betting on it. So, John, are you excited for All In?
Yeah, I think it's hard not to be, right? Like I almost want to say they're all in with this card. I feel like they're putting a lot of stuff out there that I think is exciting, and it's going to be one of, if not the biggest wrestling shows in at least in a long time, right? So, I think that there's excitement to that part alone, and so yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Are you?
Just seeing a lot of the talent in a 80,000 fan seat stadium environment. I mean, a lot of the homegrown talent from AEW came off, the American indies, the Japanese, the Mexican indies.
Sure.
And, I mean, dude, even the veterans, this may be the biggest crowd that they've ever performed.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, even right, even people that came from different promotions and stuff, that this is a huge audience. And I think what's unique probably about WWE, AEW, all the wrestling shows is the audience is in essence part of the show, right? And so having an audience of this size, I feel like is adds a really unique dynamic. So I think it should be neat.
Okay, so let's get into the matches.
Yep.
We're gonna start with the widest odds.
Yeah.
And then get down to the closest matches. And I think
I'm going to add one thing before we get into the matches. I think this is an important starting point to think about something. I think in terms of context, the way I'm trying to think about things, and I think you do this on the DFS side, especially with MMA, is just thinking about context and those kind of contextual variables of how we're thinking probabilistically. I think there's some interesting things to think about here that you don't get on a typical card. One being, right, like there's maybe some additional sensitivity to just the business environment, right, for AEW. Like this is such a huge moment for them in terms of how that affects outcomes. I think there's probably some impact just in terms of how mega this is in terms of their overall business, their business in the UK. And I think in terms of there's some real life stuff that we're probably going to talk about here. I know you probably can guess what match I'm talking about. So I think that's an interesting variable. And then I think just in general, like thinking through where this show is going to go, and the fact that they have another pay-per-view in like a week is an important contextual variable that I think we should think about. So just wanted to set the stage with that because I think this is unique in that aspect of like when we've done the WWE shows on here before, some of these variables are not there. I think maybe booking decisions are not as set, like the business climate is not as sensitive to booking decisions on like a typical WWE pay-per-view.
Right. The difference between WWE booking and AEW booking is drastically different.
Correct.
Right. WWE is either insanely predictable and it's stuff that you don't like. It's not like, oh, I would like that to happen and they will do it. It's like, no, I know how they work, and the people that I like may just lose because that's what they do.
Sure.
AEW tends to be on the other side of like you said, it's an 80,000 attended big show. If you just put like baby faces and heels on the opposite sides, I think it's more likely if you're on the 50-50 the babyface, I think, side wins more often than the heel side in this type of environment.
Yep.
Rather than them using it as like, oh, we have all these fans, especially in the UK, that have never seen us live. Let's have a lot of heel wins and generate a lot of heat. Like WWE would think Clash at the Castle, like let's have Drew McIntyre lose.
100%.
Right? Get a lot of heat, right? AEW, Tony Khan typically wants to make everyone go home happy.
Exactly. And especially in this environment, right? It's not about, like, I think there's an element to WWE PLEs where it's like they're setting up the next thing. They're setting up the next thing. And so, right, like there's maybe more, and there's going to be some of that, I think, with the fact that they have another pay-per-view coming up. But I think you're 100% right. In terms of the booking decisions, it's really hard when you're going into such a major event like this, that this is sort of being, I mean, even the way they described it on Dynamite yesterday is like, this is it. Like, this is a big, big deal. And I think they want to make sure they capitalize on not only the attention, but also, right, the direct audience that they're performing in front of, which I think is a big deal. So anyway, I wanted to throw that out there before we get into some of this, because I think thinking through those variables is going to be important to where we're trying to find value on the betting lines and how we think about these things probabilistically. So anyway, just throwing that out there.
If there was a bet available on first match of the card, I would put my money on it's being Chris Jericho versus Will Ospreay.
Are you saying just to drum up excitement and stuff of that sort?
Well, two reasons. One, it's obviously not closing the show. And Jericho is typically, I mean, his whole thing leaving WWE was his match at WrestleMania going on second. And it's like, you don't put, I don't go on second. You put on a mid-card match on second, right? So Jericho views opening the show is as valuable, or maybe the second best slot than closing the show. And Jericho tends to have Tony Khan's ear. We've seen this happen tons of times on TV. Yep. That if it's not going to be the main event, he wants to go on first. And I think the visual opening the pay-per-view with everyone singing Judas, with him singing, the band's going to be there. Mm-hmm. Him coming to the ring, it's probably going to be a babyface matchup, even though Jericho has just kind of turned babyface. Ospreay's technically a heel. He's in fucking England. Like, dude, the reaction he's going to get, he's possibly the greatest British wrestler ever, even at 30 years old now. Like, I can't see them not opening with Judas, and then Ospreay's music hits and everyone goes nuts. And this match opens. But it's one of the widest lines. Will Ospreay minus 1,000, Jericho plus 500. Do you think, I mean, I think Ospreay wins this more than 90% of the time.
Yeah, no, I do too. I just could not, especially if he goes on first, like you're saying, I just could not see that. Yeah, I don't think this is a spot where you have Jericho beat him. I don't know.
It's also not a spot when we mentioned before about, you want to make the audience happy, right? The live crowd. It's like Callis is probably going to be out and around. And I think it's more likely that Callis screws Jericho and Ospreay wins that way than Callis turn on Ospreay or something. Like, I'm not sure how much Callis plays into the match, but I don't think Jericho is a narcissist. So you knew he was going to be on this show, and you knew he was going to be pushing for a singles match. They were supposed to do this match like 2 years ago, right? Like coming out of the pandemic. But the thing about Jericho is, like, he doesn't mind losing. Mm-hmm. Like he doesn't mind putting people over. If he looks good, right, and he gets his spotlight, no problem. Especially at his age, he doesn't need to win. He just has to look good. Like, this is the type of match for him that he's up against arguably the best wrestler in the world. I would put Will Ospreay in ring as the best wrestler in the world. Jericho at 53 years old. Like Lionheart Chris Jericho from the 1998 to 2003. Like, okay, Jericho could hang, but I don't know about this Jericho. I think he considers it a win. If you come out of that match going, that was a 4.5 star match. Mm-hmm. Like, Jericho, that would soak that in. Is it going to be a 5-star classic? Probably not. But 4.5. If you could get 4.5 stars, he could be staring at the lights. 1, 2, 3. and he's walking out happy. So, like, I know it's minus 1,000, but I'd bet the $50 to win whatever. How much? 50 cents?
Yeah, I think so. That's right. I agree with you for what it's worth. Yeah, I would not be doing any other approach in this matchup. So yeah.
Okay, the next one that is similarly wide is Darby Allin and Sting versus Christian Cage and Swerve Strickland. Darby Allin, Sting minus 1,000, Cage and Strickland plus 500. This obviously had a change last night because AR Fox, there's some issue with him not being able to go to UK. Apparently, he has not wrestled an international date since 2016.
Wow.
So there's probably a reason for that, whether it be visa related, criminal related, could be for any reason. Who knows? Some people are speculating that they wanted to get Christian on the show because they're going to do some angle and Edge is going to debut.
Yeah.
I don't think so, but whatever. But obviously, get another name on the card. I personally, from an in-ring perspective, I would have just rather this just be Brian Cage and Swerve Strickland versus Darby and Sting, because I think Brian Cage is good in the ring. Mm-hmm. Christian's great on the mic, but I mean, in ring, a lot of smoke and mirrors. He's serviceable. I think Swerve is going to carry the match a lot, but I mean, if you were to bet on Sting to win on pay-per-view, like every match, and just roll that over, I'm not sure if you'll ever lose.
Mm-hmm.
So is this the type of thing that 90% minus 1,000, just Darby and Sting win the coffin match, and both of them, and Christian and Swerve are double coffined?
Yeah, this almost feels like, and like, I don't know if it's just something baked in of like, oh, this is an AEW card, but I think if you were to see this, like a similar match, right? If you like took, all the other context is the same, but this is a match in WWE, it'd be one of those ones that we're talking about that's like minus 20,000, 50,000, something crazy that like you just would never bet. But I mean, so I think like, yeah, Sting losing a coffin match in front of 80,000 people just does not seem like it's a thing that's going to happen. So
right. And they have to make up. Tony Khan has to make up for the fact that Sting lost to Triple H at WrestleMania.
Right.
In his biggest crowd that he's ever performed in front of.
Yep.
It's like, okay, here you go. You get the win. Right. But I mean, it happens all the time. Sting doesn't lose. I mean, Tony Khan's on Sirius XM going, he's having the best run of his career, kayfabe run of his career. Right. He's undefeated or whatever because he doesn't have singles matches. So, and Darby Allin has never lost a coffin match either.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, if you could parlay the first two that we've talked about, I think that would be fine. Like, I think that's probably.
So you can make what, $4?
Yeah, you can make $4. Get your way you can make a little dent in the pay-per-view, fund.
Okay, so those are the only two matches that, like, seem inevitable to me.
Sure.
I know we said on the Ronda and Shayna seemed inevitable, and they swerved us there.
They did.
AEW is not that, like, I don't think it's that type of deals. All these other matches that are like minus 300, minus 400, then you could say, okay, there's a possibility they do X. These are the matches where I don't think so. So
Agreed.
let's get down to some of these. There's a couple at minus 400. One they announced yesterday. The Acclaimed and Billy Gunn. Badass Billy Gunn. He's not daddy ass anymore. Versus the House of Black for the Trios Championship. The Acclaimed and Billy Gunn are minus 400. The House of Black are plus 250. And John, if I told you that they just designed new Trios belts, like that is the scoop. And remember, House of Black have Trios belts that have like shadowed, like it looks like it fit in.
Mm-hmm.
If I told you that they designed new Trios belts, and the fact this whole storyline is about, Billy Gunn thinks he's over the hill and they've been trying to get him back. I mean, I almost think minus 400 is, I think the value is on minus 4. I think this should be like almost more like minus 1,000.
Yeah. So I think it's interesting because there's been some conversation about like, I think one interesting angle, if you were going to go with the 250 is, the fact that like some people are saying in terms of this brand split, right, that like maybe keeping one of these sort of tag belts on one of the. So I think it's like it almost may depend on where you go with the other tag match, if that makes sense.
I don't really. Oh, you're saying that if FTR retain, that it's much more likely that House of Black lose because FTR ain't moving to Dynamite.
Correct.
Because of the whole you're banned from Collision, CM Punk. Well, but FTR has no problem appearing on Dynamite also because the Acclaimed have appeared on both.
Sure.
House of Black of it. It's more the fact of like I think from a belt perspective, they want to move. Yeah. They want to have, you know, that's why Orange Cassidy tends to be more on Dynamite, while the TNT title tends to be more on Collision. But I think this is like the season finale type of thing where next season maybe things are all switched around outside of CM Punk. But is there any compelling reason? Would there be any reason that with All Out in Chicago the following week, that I mean they ran this match? This was the match at Double or Nothing. I mean, I was literally there for this. It wasn't a very good match, right? It was like a SmackDown TV match. Like that's pretty much what it was.
Sure.
I don't see them running this back a week from now. I see whatever happening in this match being the end of whatever this is, and it kind of doesn't make sense for House of Black to retain. And then where does House of Black could go and feud with LFI, feud with tons of other trios things, but like then what are the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn? Like the Acclaimed could move on, but like what happens with Billy Gunn? And I think in front of 80,000 people in Wembley, like dude, Daddy Ass is over. The Acclaimed are one of the most popular acts in all of wrestling and homegrown in AEW. I mean, I think -4. I mean, what's my -400 is 80%. I still think they have more than an 80% chance of winning here, knowing how AEW books.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm a little surprised that this wasn't just booked for All Out. To be honest with you, like I think that wouldn't have been surprising to me. I think it would have fit better, probably.
I think match-wise it would. I think it's more of the fact of they want the Acclaimed at Wembley.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I think, yeah, I mean, I could get on board with. I mean, like, I don't know if I would bet it at -400 to be honest with you, but I don't think it's a bad bet from a probabilistic standpoint. I just think probably if I was going to pick my spots on the card, I probably wouldn't
do this one, right?
Yeah, but I think it's fine.
Okay, the next one also at -400. It's the 6-man tag team match: the Golden Elite, Hangman Adam Page, Kenny Omega, Kota Ibushi versus Bullet Club Gold, Jay White, Juice Robinson, and Konosuke Takeshita. Golden Elite -400. Bullet Club Gold +250. I think this is the match of what you mentioned in the early part of the show that relies very heavily on what you think is going to be at All Out. And do you know what you want to hear my theory?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to piece two things together, right? Using the logic puzzle. I think at the end of the day, Kenny wants to put Takeshita over. That Takeshita is going to beat Omega. Now, maybe he doesn't beat him in a singles match. Maybe he beats him in this match, right? But at some point, Takeshita will pin Kenny Omega for a 3 count. All Out is in Chicago, okay? CM Punk's going to headline. It's Chicago, for crying out loud.
Yes.
CM Punk, the main antagonists in the backstage war between the Elite and Punk are the Bucks primarily.
Yep.
And Punk. And I guess Hangman, even though he tries to stay out of it, but Punk doesn't want to stay out of it. Kenny typically doesn't, like it's been said in you know, Scoopsters or whatever, that like Kenny and Punk could work together. Like Punk hasn't called out Kenny. Omega said that he'll work with Punk. He has no problem with that. So as far as being in the same locker room, I think it's more likely we see Kenny Omega in Chicago at All Out, and we don't see Hangman and we don't see the Bucks. Because it's going to be a Punk headline show.
Sure.
So I'm going to assume that because these cards are a week apart from each other, that it's too much on Kenny to do 2 5-star singles matches within 1 week. So that's why they booked this match, because they could put Omega versus Takeshita on the Chicago card and not ruffle feathers with Punk. So it really just comes down to, do you think that the Elite win here and then Takeshita pins Omega in Chicago? Or do you think they trade and maybe Takeshita pins Kenny here and then loses in Chicago with some callous type of thing, interference, and they have like a 25-minute match in Chicago? Like, I think this is the match that really depends on how you think All Out is going to be booked.
Sure.
But I think that it's the odds are, I think the odds are too wide.
Yeah, I do
I
too.
think minus 400 for the Golden Elite versus plus 250, because I think this is I view this as like a minus 200 plus 150 rather than minus 400 plus 250.
Sure. Yeah, I think that's the issue. So like, I think there's definitely a lot of context to discuss, sort of just from a straight up pick'em perspective, right? Like if this was just pick'em, you know, I mean, I think that would probably sway you one way. But in terms of the betting value, yeah, I think I would bet what you said is plus 250, right? Is what
Plus
I saw.
250, yeah.
Yeah, I think I would probably bet the plus 250. I had also seen some rumors about trying to set up some sort of Kenny Omega and Jay White sort of match down the line, which I think is kind of interesting too. I don't know that would come now, but I think
Right.
I think there's some rumor of like setting that up, right, in some way. So,
but this is the perfect spot to give Bullet Club Gold and Takeshita a win. And if we're getting a lot of babyface wins throughout most of the card, this is one where, like, I truthfully, this may depend on the tag team match also.
Sure.
That, you know, if the Bucks are going to win the tag team titles, maybe the Golden Elite don't win this match, and
Right.
vice versa.
I think that is part of it. Like, and that kind of gets to some of that real life thing is like, you know, I mean, I don't know that they're going to go with sort of like you're saying, this sort of elite, you know, group winning multiple matches, right? And like, so I think this is a good spot where you're getting some value on an underdog play that I think really, like you said, could be much closer and you'd still consider betting them, you know? So I think
I could see Jay White getting the pin. I could see Takeshita getting the pin.
Yeah.
I think obviously if the Elite win, it's Juice laying down. I mean, they protected Jay White heavily.
Yeah.
And I think Takeshi's a future star that all of them believe should be pushed.
Sure.
So I don't think having him lose.
No.
Right. So I think it's more likely that it's Juice or Ken. Truthfully, I think the pin would be Takeshita on Omega, or like if that happens, or Jay on Omega.
That's what. That's where
Omega typically takes pins in these types of matches, but in singles matches, not so much.
Sure. And I mean, I think the idea is here is what we're saying is this is setting up some sort of singles match, whether it's Jay White or Takeshita. We think probably down the line, this is setting something up with Kenny Omega. And it seems to me from a booking perspective, the best way to do that is to have him get pinned. So, I mean, I think this is a pretty solid pick here. I think at the odds you're getting, I think this is pretty solid.
Okay, we missed another wide one. I forgot about it. It was on the screen.
Sure.
CM Punk versus Samoa Joe. CM Punk minus 1,000, Samoa Joe plus 500 for the real world champion. And I could go on a rant about this.
Yep.
Just the fact that they're even acknowledging it on TV makes no sense to me. Do you?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a big fan of, dude. This match means so much less when they already had a match and Samoa Joe, like, I'm on a roll up. I'm not gonna whatever. Like, dude, this was like the rivalry in Ring of Honor.
Yep.
Right, 16, 18 years ago. Do you think? I mean, do you think Punk wins this 90% of the time?
Yeah, I do. I mean, right, the stipulation that it's for the real world championship, it just means literally nothing, I think. And I
It
mean,
means nothing to Joe. Imagine Joe wins.
yeah, that's
What do you do from there? Like,
the
what?
only,
That
the
doesn't
only
seem to
thing
matter.
I've heard that I think makes sense as far as if Joe won is like he tosses it aside and's like whatever, and it's like AEW gets to get rid of one of these titles or whatever, so like it. But then again, like I don't see, right, like they're moving towards something with CM Punk. Like it doesn't make sense to me, right? If you had already introduced this idea of this belt, like I wouldn't understand the reason for having him lose it. And
Right.
then
If
the
it
other
was WWE, maybe you could come up with some cockamamie reason.
yeah, yeah,
AEW, it's not going to look like that. There's
no,
no reason for Monk not to win.
sure, yeah, and I mean, I think like I do think this match is going to be quite short. Like I don't think they're going to devote a lot of time to this match. I think it's just, I mean, it's not going to be what people probably hoped they'd get from a Samoa Joe CM Punk feud at this time. And I think like you're right. It's partly because they've already had a match, right? Like they've already had a singles match. So yeah, I think this is honestly, I think this is probably just a way to put CM Punk on the card at this point. So
right. Okay, I'm going to skip over one of the minus 400s because that ties in with another match that's on the card that's on the pre-show, the main event.
Sure.
But we have the Stadium Stampede match, which I'm assuming is going to look more like Anarchy in the Stadium.
Yep.
Right? Because, I mean, it's not an empty stadium. Like, how do you have a stampede? There's not, I mean, whatever. Okay, so it's the Blackpool Combat Club with Santana and Ortiz making their return against the Best Friends, Penta and Eddie Kingston. Best Friends with Orange Cassidy. Penta, Ray Phoenix couldn't make the trip.
Yep.
Right? So now it's a 5-on-5. We'll never know who the sixth guy that was going to be on the BCC side.
Maybe we will find out who it was at some point.
Maybe.
Match,
Maybe. You're right. You never know. BCC is minus 300. The other side plus 200. I think to me at least, it's quite obvious. We're leading up to Moxley versus Kingston. Yeah. Where this is coming to head where Kingston hates Claudio. Best friends. He's friends with Mox and he's trying to fix their friendship. And then, of course, Santana Ortiz, who used to be friends with Kingston. Now we had that whole thing with the House of Black and Ortiz, like going back God knows how long ago, right? So now Ortiz, and because remember, the last time we saw Santana Ortiz was Blood and Guts teaming with BCC and Eddie Kingston, right? So it's natural that they would possibly be on that side and kind of be anti-Kingston. Kingston is the like the underneath babyface tough guy. Dude, anyone in this match between, Chuck, Trent, and Penta could all take the pin here.
Yeah. Yep.
Right. You don't pin the international champion with Orange Cassidy. Right. And this leads up to some Mox versus OC encounter, possibly for the international title.
Yep.
And maybe even then Kingston gets involved in that and OC retains because of that. Like, to me, this all sets up that this is where you put Blackpool Combat Club over
100%.
And you get the heel heat, even though like Blackpool Combat Club aren't like, they're heels in action, but the crowd typically likes them to some extent.
Yes.
Very similar to House of Black. Like they're heels, but we're excited to see them. Sure. Right? It's still Jon Moxley. Right. Yes. So I see. I don't think OC or Kingston get pinned, and it's a garbage match. It's a plunder match.
Yep.
We have all the plunder people, and I mean all these guys are plunder match types of people. There's no reason, like, this is more of a spectacle than to me. It doesn't even matter who wins, but I would think that you want Kingston fighting from underneath and going to avenge and eventually get his revenge or whatever, or eventually repair his friendship with Moxley.
Sure.
Something like that. So
yeah,
I think minus 300 is value.
Oh, 100%. I agree. I'm with you on that entirely. I mean, I just think that I'm actually surprised at where the line is, to be honest with you. Yeah, I think I think the minus 300 is really good value here. So yeah, I'm completely on board. I just couldn't see it not going their way. I think in terms of the spectacle, it's kind of funny. I heard something about that. This is this match type is a match type in the video game. I don't know if that's true because I don't have the video.
Oh, they
game.
just released it. It was like a down DLC, whatever. They just released it today or yesterday or something.
Okay. Yep. Then I heard that this is like almost an advertisement for that.
Right. Okay. Now we're going to get to the Women's World Championship match, which is a 4-way match. So it's a 4-way market.
Yep.
It's between Shida, Saraya, Britt Baker, Toni Storm. The odds right now are Shida plus 100, Saraya plus 125, Britt Baker plus 400, and Toni Storm plus 550. This is tough.
Mm-hmm. This is
because I think we both know that Jamie Hayter was supposed to be in the spot. Like this would have been originally booked as a Toni Storm has the title and Jamie Hayter is in this match. And it's quite possible this match was only going to be a singles match, right? So Jamie Hayter is injured. She won't be back until next year, right? Supposedly. I can't see Toni Storm winning this at plus 550, no matter what the odds are, because it makes no sense. Why would have they taken the title off of her for Shida anyway? To me, this makes most sense. I'm not saying that I think that this is the best creative direction. That Saraya was going to go over at Wembley in another match, and Jamie was going to go over Toni. So you have the babyface win the title, but Saraya goes over in some other match. And Homegrown's worth is outcast type of match. And then when Hayter got injured, they're like, now what do we do? Right? And then Shida's a face, but she has no ties to London or anything like that. The audience loves Shida, but she's not like, oh, she needs to win. And it has a long range. During the pandemic, sure, that was fine. She got her flowers. She won in front of a crowd, right? She defended her title in front of no one for so long. I get the sense that Saraya wins here.
Yep.
Because it's the most straightforward approach of they put the title on Shida, so they have a baby face that Saraya could beat for the title. Because if Toni had it, it would make absolutely no sense for Saraya to win a match like this against her fellow Outcast member.
Sure.
Right? So from a booking perspective of how the pieces are together, and when in doubt in AEW when it comes to the women's division, whatever's Occam's razor. Because it seems like no one puts any creative thought into the women's division at all. It's just whatever makes the most sense.
Yep.
Typically what they do.
That's right. Yeah, 100%. I'm with you completely there. That's where my money would be. And yeah, I just think it's really hard. Like you said, it's really difficult to parse out what's going to happen because it's like, who knows, right? I feel like this, in some ways, the whole division has been, who knows what's going to happen. It's just like, yeah, like you said, whatever. So
I wouldn't put it past them though, just because of historical reasons. I think Britt Baker plus 400 ain't horrible.
It's not bad either. Yep, agreed.
I wouldn't mind putting you put some on Saraya at plus 125 and some on Baker at plus 400. Like I wouldn't mind like putting 50 on Saraya at plus 125 and putting 15 on Britt Baker, and that's your combined. That's your bet.
Sure. Yeah. I think that's perfectly fine. I actually kind of like that approach in these sort of 4-way market, 5-way market type things. Is like, if you feel like there's a little bit of value on a couple options, go ahead.
The last time we had one of these matches, we let Bianca won and then lost.
Yep.
Remember the Money in the Bank ones are tough because it's like, well, Io's going to come out as the champion, but
right.
He's not even available to even bet.
Sure.
And then it's the person that won is the one that barely had the title. So,
right.
Right. We don't have that dynamic here. But it was one of those situations where, like, our first thought is obviously Bianca isn't winning. And then we moved on. It's like, oh, she wanted to serve the purpose of the cash in. And we never thought of that angle.
Right.
And it's like, who would need to lose? And we thought maybe Asuka, fine, let Asuka lose, right? They don't mind Asuka losing. Well, yeah. Although let me be clear, I think Sheeta is the rightful favorite.
Yeah, agreed. I agree with that.
It's just that I think that Britt Baker's chances of winning take enough out of Saraya that if Sheeta doesn't win, it's going to be one of those two.
Sure.
Right? But I can obviously see Sheeta retain. I can see the type of thing where she wins because of shenanigans, right? Or disagreements, or Saraya was going to win, but then Tony had a problem with Saraya, and then Britt took advantage, and then Sheeta won, right? It's one of those types of things,
sure,
depending on how they book it. Okay, let's get to what I believe is going to be the co-main and the closest match on the card for the tag team titles: FTR versus the Young Bucks. BetOnline has it both at -120.
Yep, and I think this was
the other way. Yesterday, this was FTR -200, Young Bucks +150.
Correct.
And the main reason is that Cash Wheeler was arrested for flashing a gun in a road rage incident that I don't think Tony Khan knew about. Like, this happened like a month ago, and I don't think he knew about this. Now, he could travel to the UK. He has no criminal record. He posted $2,500 bond. This isn't even a Jeff Hardy thing, right? This is a nothing burger, really, when it comes down to it. But the fact that I don't think he told them about it, that's not a very trustworthy thing. It's like if you said a month ago, he said, "Yeah, I got into this situation. Just want to let you know about it, so it doesn't surprise you, because it probably will come out at some point." I don't think they knew about it. I wouldn't be shocked. If they say, "You know what your penalty is? This is the rubber match between these two. This is supposedly for the greatest tag team of all time."
Right.
The Young Bucks just signed an extension. They're literal EVPs in the company, right? They're part of the Elite, which is the name of the company, All Elite Wrestling. I would think before this that the Young Bucks, as a show of good faith, would as far as backstage is concerned, would lose it. Would say, "We're putting FTR over because we're the better men, especially in this whole war with CM Punk," and go, "We're going to put FTR up." I could see Tony Khan saying the Bucks go over, because I don't think either way. There's no story in the tag team division. The build for this is who's the best tag team of all time.
Exactly. Yep. 100%.
Right. So like, whoever wins is going to go on to some fresh feud that has not been set up, regardless, really. So I would have bet the Young Bucks at +150 yesterday.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah, I would have too. And I think I probably still would, even at -120. I just feel like I think there's a couple things, right? Like there's the real world stuff, which I think is clear. I mean, yeah, you have the fact of their history with not only the company, but with the event itself. I think that's a pretty big deal. And I think, one other thing that I thought was interesting. I mean, I think, not only has FTR been really good as of late, delivering some major matches, but I think they've, in a sense, when I've watched Collision, I feel like they pretty much are either the headliner or right next to it, right? With CM Punk.
They only have 8 people on the Collision roster.
Right.
Everyone else is banned from the locker room, so they have to go on for like 35 minutes.
Sure. Well, and I think so. I mean, I think there's an interesting thought that kind of came to mind the other day, which is just if it's a really interesting time, right? Because we're transitioning into football season. Okay. Collision is on Saturdays.
But it means the ratings are probably going to go down.
Yeah, and it's going to be competing directly with major college football games at nighttime on Saturday evenings. I think there's an additional sort of equity in picking the Elite in just the fact that like it moves over to the other brand, right? And like it's not so much that you're tuning in for FTR on Saturday nights. I just think there is that significant challenge, and it's like right now, it's like right about to happen literally this week. It's right. Like this is it. Next week is college football, and that challenge becomes pretty difficult. But I do recognize, like, I think it does make things a little bit difficult on the Collision show if FTR doesn't walk out at, with the title. So
They could still be there. They could
Oh,
FTR
yeah.
team with CM Punk and they could put Acclaimed. I mean, dude, with this Collision stuff, who the hell knows? All I know is that the Young Bucks aren't going to be on Collision.
No, 100%. And
They're
I
not
think
going to be on whatever show Punk is on. They're not going to be on
no,
at all.
no. But I think they've really hit a good stride with the show itself. So I just think it's like, and 100%, I think FTR will be on it. But I guess what do they do with that, with any sort of feud or whatever with FTR without the belts? But overall, I would be betting on the Elite here. I think that even at minus 120, I definitely would have did it at plus 150. I think minus 120 is still probably fine. Are you kind of avoiding this at this point? Or
I would think there's no value on either side. I think this match is closer to a pick 'em. Like, if you wanted to take someone at plus 100,
yeah,
yes. But you're paying this 40-cent spread here. I mean, this is for what now I believe is a pick 'em.
Sure.
That's why plus 150 on the Bucks, no problem.
Yeah.
Minus 120 on either side. I'll watch the match. It's gonna be one of the best tag team matches of all time. So let's
just enjoy it. You don't want the extra stakes on this. You just want
the extra $50 down, $20 or whatever you can get down.
Sure.
Okay, let's go to the last match, which ties into the first match, which is going to be on the pre-show. Which to me, dude, the thing that I'd be the most nervous about: don't get hurt.
Yes.
Who does it? I don't know any promoter in their right mind would ever do this. On the pre-show, it's going to be MJF and Adam Cole, better than you, baby, facing Aussie Open for the Ring of Honor tag team titles. Aussie Open's minus 260. Adam Cole and MJF are plus 180. This is obviously set up for an angle. I mean, on the pre-show. And also, as a guise of, we want the live crowd to be in your seats. So when we go on the air, even on the preview, that most of the stadium is full. Do you see any forward past this reason why MJF and Adam Cole would have the Ring of Honor tag team titles and go on the streaming service? And I mean, like, it just, I see it as a vehicle for an angle, a vehicle to sow dissent, a vehicle of, they look good, maybe together, and then something happens, Aussie Open wins, and then that sets up what's going to happen for the main event. It could be the type of thing, maybe there's a kayfabe injury angle type of thing, because I think this is all set up, kayfabe-wise, as they're trying to set each other up that I want you to tire out so I could beat you later in the night.
Sure.
Type of thing. We don't know who's setting who up. That's the whole point of this storyline. But do you see any reason that they come out in the main event? They both have the Ring of Honor tag titles?
I mean, it's tricky, right? Like, I think it's almost like, are they going to throw an extra swerve in there? Like, I almost feel like there would be very little point to putting those tag titles on them in terms of like long-term. But like when you said in terms of advanced storytelling, right? It's like, what are we saying as advanced? Are we saying 3 hours later? Like, then maybe, like, I don't know. Maybe there is some sort of like, y'all are still like, I don't know. Maybe it adds some additional.
Yeah, but what equity does the Ring of Honor tag titles have?
Yeah, I don't think it has much.
Right. So like, I don't even understand. Like, it means more to have Aussie Open to have them.
Sure.
And have MJF. I mean, it's not like, the Lucha Brothers had them and didn't bear like they had like 2 matches or something. I just don't see. I can't devise a storyline reason past that day.
Sure.
Why MJF and Adam Cole would be coming out at any point to defend the Ring of Honor tag titles against any other team. I don't see how that is a thing. I see them still being a tag team, possibly.
Yes.
In some regard, but not having a title and defending it while one of them is the world title. This is the type of thing that if they wanted to revisit a year or two from now and they end up winning the AEW tag titles.
Yeah.
and be like, and that's their and then someone else is the world champion. I mean, like, and that's another thing. Totally. But not at the same time and not with this title.
That's the problem, I think, is what title it is. Like, I think, you know, I mean, I think there's like some plausible, kind of interesting and weird storylines that you could, I mean, which overall this has been kind of a weird storyline, I think. But it's.
Do you think the weird part is that Roderick Strong and the Kingdom get involved because they're from Ring of Honor?
Yep.
You could see the Kingdom winning the tag titles if they were baby faces against Aussie Open. Does it set something up for, like, I see it more set something up for that than
Sure.
MJF and Adam Cole both having the tag. It just, I see no, it seems like it's underneath, like them having the tag titles and having any storyline involving those tag titles is just beneath both performers.
Sure.
Like, while one of them has the world title, like, it's fine if they, like, it would have been fine if neither of them had the world title, but if Punk won and MJF lost and now they're doing this, okay, I can see it. I just, can you come up with anything? I mean,
the only thing that is maybe something to think about is just like, if this is if it's real. So my only thought is, if it's really just to add another layer of confusion and complexity into the main event, right? Like, if it's like, we're setting this up on the pre-show, they just won and now they have to face each other later tonight and they're tag champs. Even
what's even that story?
I don't know. I think it's more of like, this is on the pre-show, right? Like, tune in now it's like, even if you weren't really watching and understand the like friendship here, you know that they're the tag champs, right? And my only thought is, if the tag belt, right, I agree with you, it'd be meaningless for them to have it. They could.
No, I haven't. I got it.
Go ahead.
I got it, John. I could see them doing this. I mean, this is still a low percentage. I would bet on Aussie Open minus 260 here, but sure. Could it be they win the tag titles? The main event happens. Someone wins the main event. Something happens with Roderick Strong and the Kingdom. And at All Out, it is MJF and Adam Cole, the Ring of Honor tag titles, versus the Kingdom.
Yep.
Versus Roderick Strong and Matt Tate, versus the Kingdom with Roderick Strong in the middle of them.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I could see that to get, because you have to think of All Out. You mentioned right in the very beginning, the All Out card has 2 fucking matches on it.
Correct.
And it's what? 9 days away.
Yeah. I'm
going to it. What the fuck's on the show? I'm assuming it's going to be Punk versus Starks for the 3rd time. Not a big fan of that match, but whatever. I could. How do you get MJF on the card? Unless they do a rematch?
Yeah.
And what match makes sense other than MJF versus CM Punk? I don't see them doing that on a 6-day build.
Sure.
Again in Chicago.
No. That's got to be.
Maybe that's how they get MJF and Cole on the All Out card. Because what would be the reason they tag team up in the first place, other than the fact that they have to defend their titles?
Sure.
Rather, because it's what? MJF versus Adam Cole versus the Kingdom in just a winner, Roderick Strong in a pole match. I mean, like, I guess they could do that. I mean, that's still viable. But you see, I've convinced myself that there's a little bit more percentage chance of, like, maybe there is a purpose for this. And then the Kingdom goes over MJF and Adam Cole because of Roderick Strong and All Out. And then the Kingdom have the Ring of Honor tag titles. And the Kingdom are already, they perform every week pretty much in Ring of Honor. So There you go. They're up their way. And then Roddy Strong gets involved in whatever MJF and Cole are doing. And we're off the full gear.
Yeah. No, I think that's, and I think this is one of those matches where I brought up the context of, we've got another pay-per-view in a week. It's like, yeah, you're right. There's not a lot set up for that. I don't think they're just going to do a straight rematch. I don't think that'd be interesting. And it's like, there's also a part of it where, and I don't know how this works into that narrative there, because I think that's a fair point and like an interesting angle, but it's like, this has been huge. Like this alliance between Adam Cole and MJF has been massive. It extends beyond, I think, typical AEW fans. Like, I think that this is a really interesting storyline that a lot of people are getting into broadly. And it's like,
I don't think they're going to stop it. I mean,
right. That's what I'm saying.
This is I don't want to call it the bloodline level, but this is AEW's Bloodline.
Yeah,
You could see it in the ratings. You could see it in the crowd reactions. You could see it in the merchandise sales.
correct.
Like, I don't know if I think they expected this is going to be a 6-week story leading up to a reason for this match. MJF turns on Cole, as we should expect. And then MJF goes on to his next feud and Adam goes on. And then it's just a way for MJF to not do the same old, you have to get through 5 people before you get to me. They swerved it in reverse of like, keep your enemies closer and your friends, whatever. And then it just turned into what, like Sami Zayn being supposed to be only like 3 weeks with the Bloodline. And that turned into the hottest thing in all of wrestling.
Yep.
Right. They're on that level of this type of thing,
100%.
which makes it that maybe they do win the tag titles. We have the title match. If you told me 8 weeks ago that MJF wasn't going to be a minus 1,000 favorite in this match, I would have said that you're nuts, because I think the whole story is that he's, the bidding war of 2024, and eventually minus 400 MJF, plus 250 for Adam Cole. I still think if you ask me who's going to win, it's going to be MJF.
Yep.
Whether or not he wins and still remains friends with Adam Cole, he wins even after Adam Cole turns on him. He wins even after he cheats to turn on Adam Cole. I think it's much more likely that MJF retains the title. But based on the past, 6 to 8 weeks, plus 250 for Adam Cole it's like, if you'd have told me this 8 weeks ago and I said, whoever MJF said, Adam Cole plus 2, like, no, MJF wins. I mean,
sure. I think even at minus 400, I'd probably still be on MJF. I just think in terms of build up to what they could get to, it just makes it.
Now, okay. Here's a question.
Sure.
Depending on the alignment, if I would have told you we put together the alignments for both characters, would that change what your thought is? So if I told you at the end of All In, MJF and Adam Cole are both baby faces, who do you think won? MJF won.
Yeah.
Okay. If I told you that they're both I don't think that's a possibility.
Sure. Yeah.
That they're both heels, I would think that MJF won.
Agreed.
If MJF is a heel and Adam Cole is a babyface, MJF won. If MJF is a babyface and Adam Cole is a heel, I think Adam Cole won.
And I think so.
I don't think it would make no sense for a Adam Cole heel turn to be effective enough where a babyface title holder of MJF makes sense for a story going forward, because he has the title. It's like, I need to seek my revenge on Adam Cole because he's not my friend anymore, is less compelling of a story when MJF has the thing that he cares about the most. He already has his fucking title.
Sure.
If Cole turns on him and takes his title, and MJF, now they actually push him as a real babyface, it makes much more sense for him to chase the title back. And I'm not saying that he doesn't get it back in full gear and he still has it for the bidding war of 2024 type of thing. But I don't see Adam Cole winning this match without being a heel.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. And I think you're saying even it would require a babyface turn too, like on MJF's part. Yeah, I think that's fair.
What do you truthfully think besides the betting lines? I think that how this match plays up is like, obviously FTR Young Bucks, like from a match perspective, I don't know who's going to win, but it's going to be a great match.
Yep.
Obviously, this MJF Adam Cole match is still going to be a great match, but just the storytelling of how it unfolds, like what the finish is going to be. Young Bucks FTR is going to be, you're going to, ooh, this flip, done, do, boo, boo, someone wins.
Sure.
Type of thing. And it'd be like, oh, that was awesome. But the finish of this match is going to be a story-based finish.
Correct.
Do you think the biggest swerve is that someone wins clean and they both hug?
I do think,
it's literally everyone expected someone to turn on someone else, and they tease it one person in the middle of the match. They tease one person, and at the end of the day, the pay-per-view goes off the air with Adam Cole holding up MJF and going, "Look at my best friend."
Yeah.
He's the man. And everyone going, wow. It's like, I
didn't
didn't
see
see
it
that coming.
Like, that's where my brain has been, to be honest. I was just going to say that because I think like, and again, from a business perspective, and we've been saying that that's an important variable, right? We just said this has been a ratings driver. You end a major pay-per-view with something that's what's funny is in theory, right? That should be the what you'd expect, right? But like
Right.
nobody is expecting that. I think most people are expecting some sort of turn, something to happen. They're going to split. This is the end of that sort of friendship. And it's like, maybe it's not. Maybe like, I think, are we thinking that simply because of the magnitude of the event? Like, I think in some ways we're thinking like, because it's kind of being drilled as like, this is like the WrestleMania for AEW in some ways, right? Like just given
also, if you hear Adam Cole, he's said multiple times that he really needs to win this, which is very similar to what Stone Cold Steve Austin said WrestleMania 17, right? And that's when, obviously he turned heel, right? They put these little breadcrumbs in, but some of them you don't know if they're throwing in just to throw you off a little, or you're looking too far into it. We have that contract signing that Adam Cole did not read.
Yep.
So other than what no one mentioned it, but that could always be brought back in because MJF and these are wrestlers that think about the details.
Sure.
There could be something in the contract that if whatever type of thing, right? But I think that's more motivation for like an MJF heel turn, right, than anything else. But
and maybe Blender, maybe though, it's all of this. They know that all this stuff is going to get circulated. People are going to ask questions about that. Right? Like what we're doing, right? Like it's like I've read a lot of people thinking about that contract signing thing, right? And for good reason, right? I mean, but maybe then, like you just said, the swerve ultimately is like, no, nothing happened with it. Right?
No, something eventually does happen. Like
something does, but not.
I lean very much on your thinking that an AEW doesn't necessarily always think that they do things on the reverse, right? AEW, Tony Khan typically books by planting seeds and paying off stuff like sometimes way too long, right? And which may not even be in the best interest of business. Like it'd be much better if you just paid this off now. Like when are we going to get Jamie Hayter turning on Britt Baker? And that's going to happen at some point, or Britt's going to turn on her. Like at the point that it happens, sometimes it's like, okay, we're not excited about it anymore.
Sure.
Right? Like they missed their opportunity. When is Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland ever going to have a match? God knows when that happens. And do I care about it anymore? Probably not. Right? But WWE tends to think the way that you mentioned before of like, this thing is the hottest thing, driving ratings, driving pay-per-view buys, driving attendance, driving everything, merch sales. We intended on it ending it now, but it's just too good for business that let's find a way to extend this to the next pay-per-view at least. And whatever we were planning on doing here, we'll just do then.
Sure.
How can we plan? Now we're going to insert the Kingdom. We're going to insert Roderick Strong. We're going to insert all this type of thing. We're going to make it so that they have to do the tag titles on All Out also. And you're going to have to continue to see and go, maybe they're going to be best friends. And people will go, well, maybe they'll both turn. They'll both be heels. Or they'll both. And if you could extend it out another 3 months, I mean, from a business perspective, from a money perspective, that's exactly what they do. And if you really want to think about business, we're in the period right now where AEW is negotiating for a new television contract, right? And they're probably going to get a 5+ year contract that may be $1 billion. Maybe the thing that spiked your ratings every week, maybe you want to keep on the program.
Correct.
But John, you have to admit that's a very WWE booking mentality.
Sure.
And AEW typically doesn't think about that with their book with Tony Khan's booking.
Yes, I agree. It's a good point. Now, I do have a question, and this is something we can't answer, I don't think. But if you do like say you were to parlay, and I don't even think you can do parlays in these markets, but I think it's a funny thing to think about, right?
Right.
If you tried to parlay MJF and Adam Cole, and then MJF or Adam Cole, that might be a disqualification, right there. I don't know. I don't like in the prop markets, you can't
do an or if then. I don't think so.
Or no. I even just mean if you had the tag, them winning
Tag title. So MJF and Adam Cole plus 180.
Can you include one of them, or does that mean you're betting on like the same person twice, right? Like you can't do that.
No, because it's two different matches. You're thinking they're going to win the tag titles. Yeah, well, why wouldn't you just do plus 180? Why would you want to pay the Vic?
No. I guess what I mean is, I think it's funny to think about, like, because they're on the card twice. It's like, when
you're parlaying that match. No, you should. If you were able to parlay, you'd be able to. It's a separate entry.
Sure.
Right. But I mean, for the most part, I mean, we've gone down the entire card.
Yeah.
I mean, we're mostly on the side of all the favorites, right?
Yeah.
The tag team, the bet online is now the Young Bucks are now minus 160, FTR plus 120.
Either someone's listening or someone just
made it. CLV. Oh,
the CLV live.
Right, if you're watching live.
Yeah.
Right. We right. Someone's $50 bet moved the market.
That's right.
It may only take for $50.
That's right.
Because originally Sheeta was a minus 120 favorite in the women's match when it opened.
Oh, okay.
Right. Okay. John Maselli, Funkonomist. I'm going to All Out. I'm going to be leaving to Chicago on Thursday, so maybe we don't even get a chance to do a payback version of this. But if we can, we will. Right? Because payback is next week, which I won't be watching because I'm going to GCW on Friday, Collision on Saturday, All Out on Sunday.
And I will be in Atlantic City next weekend. So I was thinking about going to Payback, but it's a bit of a long drive there. So
yeah, it's not. Is it worth going to?
Yeah, I don't think it is.
No.
I don't think it is.
Okay, you can follow me at BlenderHD on Twitter. Subscribe to the channel. Right, post periodic episodes. Theory Pro Wrestling episodes will come out on bulk. As schedule permitting. Hit that thumbs up button. Leave your comments, and get your $50 in on Bet Online, and maybe you make enough for a 6-pack. Maybe, just maybe. Other than that, that's been Betting on Booking.